All right, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And I forgot to turn on my light up here, so give me just a second. There we go. Anyway, we are here to talk about the ACA 915 or Atlassian Cloud Foundations or Fundamentals. I always get that name a little bit mixed up. This session, we're going to talk about some of the products that exist within Cloud. And so this is going to, did I say Confluence Cloud? I meant Atlassian Cloud Foundations, excuse me. So we're going to cover the different products, and this session will be part of a two-part on all the products because there are so many. There's a lot of stuff floating around in the Atlassian cloud. So today we're going to talk about a good chunk of them. We're not going to get to all of them though. Next time we're going to have some more. Sarah, welcome from Ohio. Madams, welcome from Poland. Good to see you. I think I remember how Dzień dobry, is that hello in Polish or good day? I hope I didn't butcher that too much. Anyway, we're going to pop into some slides, kind of like the other sessions on the 915. This might be a bit slide heavy. I'll do my best to weave in some hands-on, taking a look at these products, because to me that's a little more interesting than just staring at a bunch of slides. But a lot of this knowledge is more conceptual. It's things that we just need to know kind of in our head that we just have available. So please keep that in mind as we go. This one is less hands-on than some of the other, excuse me, than some of the other certifications we might talk about, just by nature of what it is. So I'm going to just quickly fix my floating head so it doesn't look too hideous. There we go. Oh, I got it right, madams. Thank you. I spent some time in high school traveling, and we had a bunch of Polish folks with us. So I'm glad I remembered some of it. Welcome, Chad. By quick way of introduction, my name is Rob. I have been in information technology my entire career. Started out as the IT help desk person, quickly got into project work working with systems. And I'm mainly concerned with helping people learn how to use systems to make their jobs easier. For me, technology exists to help us out, not to get in our way. And part of that could be how to enter a JIRA ticket properly, or it could be, in the case of this one, how do these tools work, or what are the underlying ideas? Because in my experience, when I talk to, say, an executive or when I talk to someone who hasn't used it, they don't have this background knowledge, and it makes them hard to understand how can the tool be used to support their teams. Now, this is all talking about cloud, so we're not going to get into data center, but I have used data center, so I added that as a fun fact. Realized it's been a long time, though. I do also hold Atlassian Certified Practitioner ACP and ACA level certifications. Please use the chat though. Please ask questions. I will ask questions just to kind of get some discussion going. And if you see someone else ask a question or share something and you want to jump in, please don't wait. Please share your knowledge. Please share your ideas. For me, it's great to see the chat helping each other out because that's what all this is about. We're all going to help lift each other, and I also get to learn. I do also have a Discord server going. I'll put the link in the chat. This is a community of about 130 folks who, in between these live sessions, use that platform to share their knowledge and pictures of their cat. There's a lot of cat pictures in there for some reason. It is the internet. Rodney, welcome, my friend. Of course, please like and subscribe if you haven't, and then share this with other folks who might find it useful. Again, we want to share what we know. This will help us remember it, but will also help out other people. I guarantee you someone else in your job that you've worked with, etc., could benefit from this because they'll have the same questions. So a quick agenda. I mentioned this will be a little bit more slide heavy. I'll try and weave in some hands-on. Morning, Scott, or wherever you are, Scott, good day. I've heard some of the older internet forums, when you logged in, you would just say good morning, and when you logged out, you would just say good night. It didn't matter what time it was. They just use that to indicate I'm here and I'm leaving. So I might default to that on this channel. There are some concepts we'll dig into. Atlassian has this idea of product categories. How do they group their products in different ways? So we'll talk about what those are. And then we'll dig into two specific categories, DevOps and ESM, which actually I'm curious. Please make up an acronym for ESM. Just for fun. I will tell you what Atlassian thinks it means, but it's fun when I see a three-letter acronym like that to just make up a definition. And kind of our guiding question, why are you interested in this particular certification or this content? Hey, Diana, welcome. Good to see you. Now, You don't have to share this. I always appreciate it. It's good to see. But you're spending time with me. You're learning about Atlassian Cloud stuff. So the question is why? And understanding what that why is will help motivate you. It will help keep you on track. My why for a lot of this is to fill out my knowledge. A lot of what I've learned about Atlassian and many products is by doing. I've just been given the product and I have to go figure out what it is. And that for me is good and bad, but it means I have gaps. There are things I've just never learned because I've never been exposed to them. Hey, Justin. Morning, Sarah. So that's why I do these. I put on these sessions both to help myself, but also to help all of you all. And I actually started doing these to force myself to study for another certification. So especially if you want to earn the ACA-915, make sure you understand why you're doing it. It could be because you want a different job, you want a promotion, you want to do different work, you want to prove your skills, you're curious. It doesn't matter as long as you know what it is, because you can use that to drive yourself to actually get things done. This is the ACA-915 Atlassian Cloud Foundations. I called it Fundamentals before. I'm going to get that mixed up quite a bit. And the exam itself is broken into 3 big chunks. Our first session, we covered the subscription and user management stuff. Last session, we covered community and support. And this session, we're going to cover half of the products and integrations. Now, if you are taking this exam, I think the passing score is like a 64%. If you're very nervous or if it's just before the exam and you don't know where to go, study this big chunk at the end, the products and integrations. Because if you can nail that, you've nailed most of the exam you need to pass. That said, if you have weaknesses in other areas, definitely check those out. But this session and next session, we're going to pull apart and understand what these products are and how they integrate. Is that a direct Pokemon reference, Rodney? Our second question, I guess. Which cloud products do you use? Or want to use? If you aren't on cloud, if you're using data center, something else. Chad, I get a chuckle out of that. My kids have just started watching Pokemon, which means I watch a lot of Pokemon, and I actually kind of like it. Rodney, I think Ash will get there. The main character in the Pokemon TV series. I think he's got a good heart, good head on his shoulders, and his friend Pikachu is amazing and cute. So I mentioned these product category things, and of course my big fat head is in the way. Excuse me. Let me just get that out of there. Whee! I'll hide in the corner for a minute. This is how Atlassian loosely groups what they've got. I have never, in my working experience, referred to these things. I have never had to reference them. I've never had anyone talk about them, but they exist. And this is a great example of something that I'm learning because I don't know about them. Justin's hiding his answer. JSM. Scott, what is JSM for context, just so in case folks don't know? And you were the first one to use it, so I'm just calling you out, putting you on the spot. So these categories, when we think about them, are different groupings of products. The same product could appear in multiple ones. For example, Jira, or what we used to call Jira software, might appear in products 1 and 3, or product categories. Other products might only appear in one category, like JSM, which I won't spoil the surprise. I'll wait for Scott to see if he can help out the team here. But these are just ways. Jira Service Management. Yay! Hang on, can I do a little... Can I put a star or something directly on that? I cannot. Oh man, I'm sorry. I was going to have like confetti fly up or something. Again, I've never referred to these in my professional life, but they are a good way of thinking through Atlassian's products logically. How can we consider, what they are? Nope, I don't have my confetti anymore. I'm sorry, Scott. I will find some confetti for you next time. And they're just a way to consider how do these things work. The biggest, not the confusingest one, the one for me is this cross-category. This one includes a lot of stuff, but if you can remember what the first 3 categories are, Agile, DevOps, Service Management, and Work Management, kind of everything else is this cross-category. It's the other bucket, which I kind of get a kick out of. There's just a lot of it. So this first category of Agile and DevOps, I find it interesting that they combined Agile with developer operations, DevOps, because in my mind, I'm a project manager, and Agile project management is one thing, and developer operations is something else entirely. That said, the nice people at Atlassian think that the types of things they do are similar, and the types of products that support this type of work is going to be the same or similar. So in this product category, we've got things like Jira, what they used to call Jira Software. We have Jira Align, Product Discovery, Confluence, Bitbucket, and Compass. For me, I have never used Bitbucket or Compass. I'm not a developer, and I haven't worked in environments that happen to use it. And I haven't really used Jira Product Discovery or Align. So I only use the two big names in here, Jira and Confluence. But all of these things together comprise that product category that you might be using if you are an agile shop or if you use developer operations. Madams, assets. Yes, thank you for calling that out. The term app is going to be thrown around a lot, and this is a rebranding or re-terminology, or a new term to describe the things that Atlassian makes. I will mess this up in the same way. I'm going to make a mistake and say that I word that I shouldn't say around Jira, that we now call work items. So the next major category we've got is service management. And this is what many people think of when they think of Jira, because they put in a ticket, someone helps them with their thing, and they go on their way. So like, depending on where you work, if you work in a software development company or a company that builds a lot of software, you are probably familiar with these. But if you work at any other type of company, you probably are much more familiar with the service management side. You forgot about jam. Like on toast? I'm so confused, Justin. Did you eat breakfast? Are you hungry? I think I know what you're talking about, but it's fun just to pretend I don't. Rodney, I'm not going to say it, my friend. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Rodney, he is the Jira guy. That is his persona. He's an amazing expert with Jira. He comes in here and tries to get me to say this old word, because then I have to penalize myself with a big flashing thing on the screen to remind me not to say it. So that's why he's putting that in there. But most people will be seeing Jira Service Management because they're going to go into a portal and they're going to put in a ticket because they can't log into something, or they need help from HR, or they can't get into their computer. And this is what I didn't start with service management. I started with Jira Software, what they now call Jira. But many people today that I work with, this is their only exposure to Jira, the Jira Service Management, and maybe Confluence. Now, this third one, status page, you have probably seen and not realized it. It's the page you go to, and maybe I'll pop into this right now. If you ever have gone to status.atlassian.net, oh, is that not it? Oh, man. I got it wrong. Status.atlassian.com, excuse me. I always get their .com and .net domains mixed up. .net is for instances. .com is their website. But this page is called Status Page, and it's just a widget that they have that ties into all of their products. And if one of them goes offline or has problems, this will change. None of them happen to do that right now. But I can click into these and get more information. And so Status Page is part of that service management bucket because it helps our customers understand what's going on. Diana, yes, you will see the I word kind of across the board at this point. I cannot imagine how many times it shows up in Atlassian's documentation. And this is something to remember as a cloud product. If something changes, Atlassian has to go find it everywhere. So when they made the decision to change the terminology, they really added a lot of work to their plate. You're going to see that word show up in a lot of spots. Work item is slowly replacing it. So the third major category we have is work management. And Justin, you've just given me a way out. Is Suze that word? Thank you for that. Work management is something I'm starting to see Atlassian push more. We see it in Jira's rename from Jira Software to just Jira. There used to be Jira Business. It's now just Jira. So Atlassian is really helping folks refocus and is pushing this idea that Jira is not just for software development. It's really for managing work. And if we look at the things included here, Jira, Confluence, and Loom, these are three tools that help people collaborate and do things. Where if we back up a couple and we look at Agile DevOps, it's more focused on developers, the Bitbucket and Compass, tracking their code. but also the project management side, making sure we're all across the organization working in one direction. When I look at work management, I see products that will help teams get work done, maybe a bit more tactical. And it's something I think we're going to see um, a lot more as we go. Well, Rodney, good thing it's not your channel then, huh, my friend? Excuse me. Um, so work management again is the smallest bucket. It just comprises these three things. But again, I've never called it work management. I just say we use Jira and Confluence. Now, the fourth category is this cross product. This makes sense, and I joke about it because it's kind of a catch-all, but it's all of the tools, all of the apps that apply kind of across the board. Rovo, for example, can be used across products. This one for me, though, is a bit of an outlier. I don't understand why Trello is in here. To me, Trello should be under something like work management, in my mind. Trello is... Brittany will kill me if I say it's Jira Lite. It is not. It is a task tracking tool. It's a way to organize what you need to do. I'm just starting to use it actually, and I really like it. I'm working on a special project with Brittany that I'll share more about later. Brittany is I think she goes by the Trello Doctor. She's written a book on it. It's behind me on the bookshelf. A great read if you use Trello. But this category also includes things like Atlassian Guard, their security app that helps you make sure everything is secured. Atlassian Intelligence, their AI tool, because it's cross-platform, right? But even automations are included in here, which I don't think of as a separate app, but it is something that spans different products. So anytime I see a product that could be used in Confluence or Jira, or in Jira Align or somewhere else, Trello Queen, that'll work, Rodney, thank you. It goes into this bucket. Now, some of these are included in other subscriptions. For example, Atlassian Intelligence is included in Cloud Premium. So you don't have to buy Atlassian Intelligence separately, it's just there. Automations are included in every version of Cloud. There's just restrictions if you're on free or standard. Things like, Rovo now will soon be included in Premium and higher, but Guard is a separate thing entirely. So if we're on the exam and there's questions around, pricing or subscriptions, we just have to understand some of these products are bundled, essentially, or some of these apps. Others require their own thing. Justin's got an interesting question on the rename to work items. I have no idea, my friend. I'll see if I can ask around. So we're going to dig in now to DevOps, or developer operations, and just curious, who is part of it, who uses it? Do you use, experience, or have DevOps? And Justin, I'm going to go snag this question and just save it somewhere so I don't forget about it. And also just going to plug that Discord server again. I'm going to drop that question in there, Justin, too, to ask our experts in that section, just to see if they can help out, and also to remind me to follow up. Justin, interesting. You would add Jira Product Discovery or Justin's Police Department, right? To work management for your environment. Sales engineering, use it for ideas. Oh, interesting. Now, these categories that we're talking about are the ones as defined by Atlassian. So in Justin's case, they have a different idea of what that category should be. That is totally okay. So as we talk about these, it's not to say you can't or shouldn't use these in different ways. It's just saying Atlassian, when they sat down and defined what is this category, this is what it's going to be. Okay, so developer operations is, bundled in with Agile. I couldn't find a good picture of Agile project management, so I found this picture of a funny-looking corgi. I absolutely think corgis are hilarious, and I love them. So Agile is a type of project management. You might be familiar with it either being on a project team, but you have probably heard the term, we're an Agile company. For me, the term Agile is kind of getting diluted because everyone wants to be Agile, but no one... when we think of what it actually is, no one's actually expressing it that way anymore, which is fine. But it's a way to adjust our work as we go to meet moving targets. So when we think of a bit of software, or a website is a stereotypical example, we can accept changes during the project in a way that traditional projects wouldn't. Sarah, you are now my new favorite person. Feely and Keely? Sorry. I'm going to distract myself with corgis. My problem is I'm not allowed to have one because my partner likes quote unquote normal looking dogs. She grew up with much larger animals, so I'll probably never get one of these cute little guys. So now developer operations, and I borrowed this graphic directly from Atlassian. You can read the quote here. For me, it is how do we ensure our engineering teams are integrated into our support and regular day-to-day stuff? So when we think of building a website, a lot of people think of the work necessary to write the code and deploy it. What a lot of people forget about is after it's live, we still have to support this thing. We have to make sure that it's running well and, keeping up. Sorry, I'm just pouring myself some more coffee. I'd also like to invite anyone who wants to become a coffee sponsor. There's now memberships on the channel. The first tier is being a coffee sponsor. You can also be a beer sponsor if you are so inclined. But I'd appreciate the support. So I'm going to have some coffee out of my Batman mug. For me, developer operations is the intent to get continuous support for things. In the same way, if we sell a product, we have support teams to help someone. We have engineering teams that help continually develop things. I don't do DevOps. I work with people who do it. So I'm aware it exists, and I'm aware of kind of some of the challenges. Things like keeping an eye on code, monitoring, that purple one. Things like this continuous integration and development. You may see the term CI/CD somewhere. Kari, it's not called Diet Mountain Dew sponsor, but if you would like to be a Diet Mountain Dew sponsor, I would love to have you. So the term CI/CD refers to just a way to deploy code and keep things deploying on its own. So I don't have to stop and wait. It's just as patches are ready, they're off they go. And all of this together helps ensure that the software we're building and develops keeps moving and doesn't run into too many hurdles. Again, I'm not a DevOps expert. I understand just enough to point at this diagram and say that's DevOps. That's the wrong slide. Now, there are some other products or other, I don't know if I can call this a product. There's Atlassian Home, which I didn't know was a thing. It's a homepage for me across Atlassian, and it gives me a single spot to go. And my head's in the way again. I'm sorry. Here we go. A single spot to go to see all the apps I have access to, all the things that I'm doing, the frequent things I'm accessing. And if you notice in this screenshot, this is a combination of Jira projects like my test space and my jQuil JSM, but also Confluence spaces like HeanTech and marketing examples. And then under that, it's a combination of Jira tickets and Confluence pages and blog posts. I'm going to pop into, I think I've got Confluence open. I'm familiar with the top level page for Confluence, and that's what we're looking at here that kind of keeps track of what I have been doing. I wasn't aware that there's an overall Atlassian homepage. So if I click on my little, I call it the Rubik's Cube, and then click on home, it's just home.atlassian.com. Here we go. This is my homepage across products. I honestly don't know how much I would use this, and that might just be a weakness in my habit. But this was an interesting app or thing to learn about. And you can even see it's including Trello information, which is kind of cool. So I'll probably start using this more because I do a lot of different stuff across Atlassian. And it's really easy for me to lose things. And this is a great example of something that I have learned doing these trainings. Now, like any product, and this kind of goes outside the exam, this tool exists. It's up to us, the people who know about it, to help our teams use it, to standardize it, to make sure people know it's there and can get to it. So when we consider our Atlassian toolkit, we can't just consider what does it do. We have to consider why do we want to use it, and then ensuring and enabling our teams that they can use it. Okay, let me get my head back on the right side here. Excuse me. Now, next up is Bitbucket. If you're familiar with GitHub or if you've heard of GitHub, in my mind, Bitbucket is the same thing. Again, I'm not a software developer, I just work with them. But it's a code repository. It's somewhere that my team can go store all the great code they're writing. And this code doesn't have to be a certain flavor of code. It's not just websites. It could be scripts. It could be something for Azure or Active Directory or some code I'm writing to build a new Confluence app, like whatever. It just gives me a place to store this and that it manages it. Now, that's also an important thing. This isn't just storage for my code. It also gives me tools to help manage it, to track the changes that have happened to it, to figure out who's changing what, where, and when. And it also importantly integrates with Jira, Trello, and Forge. Forge is Atlassian's, what's the best way to describe it? I don't actually know. Code writing environment, IDE, integrated developer experience. But Bitbucket, because it ties directly into Jira, can be used to store it all. And Justin's going to save me here. That's exactly what I said, Justin. Thank you, my friend. That's what I was trying to express. And that's how, in my head, I consider it as well. It is Atlassian's version of GitHub. So if you're familiar with GitHub, you can just replace that word in your head. I personally have never used Bitbucket. The teams I work with tend to have GitHub. I don't know if that was a decision made consciously or if they just decided, hey, we're going to use GitHub because we know about it. So like any tool, when we're considering using it, we want to assess it and see how does this compare to GitHub or something else, and then make the best decision. I'm just going to shrink my head because it keeps getting in the way. There we go. Next up is Compass. And if we can think of if we think of Bitbucket as the storage for everything, Compass is a view into it to help us find things. Now, it goes beyond just storing the information. It's a living catalog of everything we have. But importantly, it allows your team to track how things are connected and how things relate to each other. And we can see in this screenshot here from Atlassian, we have a performance rating where there's, these have passed various tests or whatever. These ones are failing. We got to go look at these. For some reason, Compass thinks there's something wrong. Again, I've never used this because I'm not a product developer. But this is another tool in that DevOps bucket that we have to go explore and figure out what's happening. And like Bitbucket, it integrates natively with other tools that Atlassian has, including, and I'll call out Slack here as the chat. So you can set up automations and rules to go Slack someone, hey, your tests are failing or you've got a problem with this component of your code, go check it out. A quick question pause, excuse me. What's your least favorite cloud product and why? And I will drink some more delicious coffee. For me, I'd have to say, that is a good question. I kind of want to say Guard because its subscription is different than everything else, and I just have to remember about it. Oh, that's funny. So, Justin, I got to put you on the spot here, my friend. Could you explain to the team how they're different? Not yet a fan of Compass, Kari, Chad, Bitbucket, because I'm not a dev and don't use it. I'm kind of in that bucket, Chad. Like, I don't use this thing, so I don't really care about it. Continuing through DevOps, though, when we think of developer operations, of agile project management, we have to consider all the knowledge and information we're creating. And this is where many people, in the same way most people interact with Jira by putting in a ticket, most people probably interact with Confluence by putting in a page or by looking up a piece of information or something like that. So here, we have Confluence, which is our source of truth for knowledge and information. So here is where my product team can go in and build out their API documentation. Or maybe we record how we use Bitbucket, our team processes. As a project manager, I tend to use Confluence quite a bit to build out a whole bunch of stuff. But I do see and work with a lot of engineering teams that use it as well. The challenge is getting people to actually go in and build out the documentation. And typically the deal I have with my engineering teams for Confluence is if you can explain it to me in 5 minutes, I will handle writing it down. I just need to understand what the thing does. And that seems to be a good trade-off. So I can keep my developers focused on developing, and I help back them up on the Confluence side. Um, Now, I particularly like Confluence. I came up through IT, building knowledge bases and things. So you'll see me talk a lot about it. But Confluence also shows up in a lot of these product categories because teams will be generating knowledge and information. They'll be creating things that aren't just work or aren't just code that you have to document and keep track of. Even better, if you have your support team and your engineering team using Confluence, your support team can then go reference the engineering documents. Or maybe you have someone like me who goes through and makes documentation for the support team, and now everyone can see it, and engineering can go update it as things change. So this gives you a single touch point where you can go to keep sharing information. Kari loves Confluence, wish you could get others to love it as much as well. And this is the challenge with any product adoption. You will have some super users who are in there, and then a whole bunch of folks who do not care. And I could go on and on and on about adoption, but I will move on instead to Jira Align. They missed an opportunity to have it look like this, I think. Jira Align. I have not used this product mainly because the groups I work with don't really use Jira the way Atlassian wants them to, or the way the tool is designed to be used. Instead of having everyone working together and having a set understanding of how it ladders up, we end up with groups kind of all over the place using Jira in different ways. Jira Align attempts to give people a higher level view of things, and you can see in this screenshot, it's giving me a portfolio and particularly giving me OKRs, so objectives and key results, a way of planning at a higher level. And I can see here that this one is on track, this one is off track. So it's not giving me Jira tickets, it's giving me a view across an organization of how things are going, and then letting me know at a high level how much progress is being made, who is the owner, when should we complete it. So if Jira is the tactical, the day-to-day view, this to me is a more strategic view, so a higher level look at how things are going. It lets us see in 3 to 6 months where we're going to be. Now, surprisingly, this works well with Jira. This should not be a shock. It's called Jira Align. And even the name, like if you see this on the exam, it's intended to align teams across the company and the organization to make sure they all know what's going on and that they can all move in the same direction. Product discovery is another kind of similar view or similar way to look at your work across an organization. If Align is concerned with the strategic view and where you're going, product discovery is about like what's possible or what you could do. It's intended to help the team. In this screenshot, you can see building a roadmap. What are we doing now, next, and later? But it's a way for mainly product or project teams to gather ideas and then to help make those ideas become real. For example, here we can see that these ideas are grouped into themes, and we have a theme of more revenue, delighting users, etc. And then we have an impact score, and that could be a 0 to 100, and the higher up it is, the more likely it is we should do it because it'll help us out. So it's just another way of managing not work, but ideas or what we want to do or what we could pull out of our system and figure out, hey, Justin had this great idea for using Bitwarden. What do we think about it? Let me move my head again. And then, of course, we have Jira itself. The challenge with Jira, in my mind, is many people assume and think it is solely for software developers. Excuse me. And really, it can, wrong button. And really, it can track any type of work. And you'll see a lot of this coming from the team or coming from Atlassian, that they're pushing and nudging it more towards just general work management. They got rid of the Jira Business or whatever they called it, and they're opening it up more and providing more features to make it more user-friendly for the average person in an organization. It's also not connected to any particular methodology of work. You could use Agile or Waterfall or any combination thereof. And of course, it ties in and works well with almost every other Atlassian product. Particularly the other flavor of Jira, Jira Service Management, JSM. Many times you'll have a development team using Jira to develop things, and JSM, Jira Service Management, to provide support and to track ongoing things that are happening. What's wrong with SharePoint? Oh, excuse me. I clearly need more coffee. And I got to bounce over here. I really need to fire the guy who makes my slides. Okay, this came up earlier, but what is ESM? And I'm asking one as a joke, but two, when I started, building out these decks, I hadn't seen this term before. It will make sense once I tell you what it is, and you have heard of a different version of this probably. I have never referred to this stuff as ESM though. And so just putting it out there that I have never personally used this particular acronym. And as a reminder, check us out on Discord if you aren't there for this and other acronyms. No guesses for ESM? Oh, it's right there on the screen now. ESM is part of, and you can see I have the wrong screenshot here, part of the broader service management umbrella. Now, this is basically your help desk or your support desk. I like that, Justin. Electronic Sonic Movement. We should petition Atlassian to change that acronym. And this is what many people, again, interact with when they talk or interact with Jira is some kind of service management. I can't log into my laptop. My badge broke. I have a question about a policy. I found a bug. These would all probably be something that goes into a service management tool. Now, most people just call it support desk or help desk. There are two major variants, though. IT service management, information technology service management. That is what most people think of, and that's the term that I know. ITSM shows up quite a bit. This is your IT help desk. There is also just general ESM, enterprise service management. So especially if you're on the exam and you see Sally's team does ESM, that just means it's general support desk across the company. Yes, you did, my friend. Also, there's a bit of a delay, I think, between when I'm talking and when you hear it, just based on the stream. So ESM could be your HR team collecting policy questions. It could be your payroll team collecting, payroll errors. It could be your facilities team tracking broken coffee makers in your building. I'm talking a lot about coffee today. But ESM is just a version of service management focused on the broader organization, as opposed to ITSM, which focuses entirely for IT. Okay, while we're on the topics of bugs, why are they called bugs? And I'll see, just as a complete aside, this has nothing to do with Atlassian directly or the certification, but it's a fun story. I really struck out with these screenshots, didn't I? Now, within Atlassian, we have Jira Service Management to support all of the service management. And so when we think of Atlassian, I don't think of ESM or ITSM. I just think of JSM, Jira Service Management. And this is the tool, again, that most people interact with as a customer. They go to a portal, they put in a ticket, a work item, someone does something, and their thing is fixed. It's also for support teams the main way the support team interacts with Jira. On the back end, they might be an agent, someone who can work on tickets, and they have a queue that just lists all the tickets they have to solve for that day. It could be go schedule an interview with Kari for this role. It could be go reset Justin's password. It could be go help out Sarah with a policy. And that agent will then track their progress. And that might involve talking to the engineering team to fix a bug or taking some action in the system. And then they'll resolve the request and let the customer know. Now, it integrates very well with Confluence. So it has different options for allowing Confluence articles and information to be surfaced and to show up while the agent and customer are working together. And also ties directly into Jira. I've mentioned a few times you can connect tickets between these systems. So if I've detected a bug from a customer report, I might tie that into some engineering work on the back end. Because it was a glitch in the matrix, wasn't it from some moth thing? Oh, I like this one, Justin, because you had to go bug the programmer. Because a bug is annoying. The story I have heard is in some supercomputer back in the 50s, back in the before times, a computer wasn't working properly and they had to take it apart and they found a moth had short-circuited something in the computer. And so that's where the term bug comes from. I'll see if I can dig up the article. I'm pretty sure that's true, although having said it out loud, that might have been made up. If that isn't true, I really like Justin's idea here where you have to go bug the programmer to fix it. but it came from apparently a literal bug in the computer shorting out a circuit. Someone mentioned assets earlier as an app. This is a subset of Jira Service Management because, again, service isn't just fix my password, it's something is wrong or I need help. And part of that could be something broke with my laptop, or there's something wrong with the air conditioner, or I'm an employee and I need to know something about them. So Jira has assets, this app that tracks an asset, which is just anything of value to an organization. Assets can be used to track phones, computers, people, buildings, medication, pretty much anything. In the example here, we have products, but anything you want to relate to anything else. And the advantage this gives your service teams is it then lets them understand how things relate and what's going on. For example, if someone reports a broken laptop, I can track that specific laptop through time and say, hey, this one has had multiple issues with its monitor. Maybe we need to replace it. Or I can track across all my laptops a particular model gives us particular trouble. Maybe we shouldn't buy it again. Justin, I'll be honest, I didn't even see that at the end. I kind of stopped reading after the word bug the programmers and I kept going. So my brain saved me there. That was like mental self-defense. Assets are included in Jira Service Management, and there's something you have to turn on under features. So it's not a separate product in that sense, which is why I'm kind of glad they're calling them apps. Like you don't go pay for assets. If you have Jira Service Management, you have assets. But the thing to consider about assets, it's not just, again, your computers and laptops. It could be anything you want to track, essentially. I also mentioned the status page. This is important, especially if you have software, because it can be tied in to automatically update and let people know what's happening. And we saw it here with Atlassian status page. It's just somewhere I can go as a customer to say, hey, what's going on? Hey, even status page is here. I wonder if status page has a status page. It does. So this can be set up to show different information, but the point here is someone can go and look and just sanity check, like, is this thing working? And if it says no, it's not operational, I know, okay, there's something wrong. Or if it says it is operational and I have a problem, I can then go report one. So status page is a way to keep people informed. And it, again, ties into Jira Service Management. It's part of that collection of things because it's helping serve customers and make sure they know what's going on. Scott is struggling with setting up assets. I am just starting to learn it. Someone else on Atlassian Live Learning, or the Atlassian Live community, is doing some sessions on assets. I'll see if I can dig up the link while we're chatting. But that might be a good place to start. Just because I know what I know through kind of experimentation and tinkering. I'm pretty sure this person actually uses it on a day-to-day basis, which makes them a much better person to learn from. All right, that was the last one of my slides. I do need your help, though. I'm constantly looking for ways to improve how these sessions go. I have an idea of which certifications I want us to do next. However, I want to know what I can do to make these sessions better. So I'd love your feedback on these sessions. Some of the feedback I've received are things like, have a question time at the end. So try and just get through the content and then do questions instead of breaking it up. I will keep coming up with more ideas on how to improve these. For example, there is a quiz I've put together for the 915, just for folks to kind of test their knowledge and see what's going on. Excuse me. But if there are other ideas you have on how these sessions can be better, things I do that annoy you that I should stop doing, things you think would be great to add, please let me know. And because I mentioned that quiz, I will very quickly drop it in the chat. Now, that quiz that I put in there is something I created, so it may or may not look like the actual exam, but it's based on all of the content that I've been talking about. All right, teleporting into, we've kind of been bouncing back and forth, into Jira Cloud. Before we get going, though, any other questions from the group? I haven't seen too many, but please let me know if I missed anything. And as I mentioned before, if you'd like to become an official coffee sponsor, or in Kari's case, a Diet Mountain Dew sponsor, there should be a membership button on your screen there somewhere. Let's see, do we have, we do have Compass, and we have Bitbucket. Yep, thank you. Go away. There we go. All right, so we are now in Compass. Again, I'm just popping in here to take a look and see what it looks like. And shock, not a lot is going on. Scorecards, operations, and health. So yeah, again, Compass is that thing that our developers can use to keep an eye on what's going on. Excuse me. It is prompting me to connect to a source code tool. And this is, again, Compass by itself doesn't do anything. It has to be fed information. It was Josh. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I guess drop in the Discord what you're struggling with, Scott, and we'll see if anyone in there can help you out. It can be, for me, it was assets were a challenging concept to wrap my head around. So if I pop into assets real quick, just understanding what's going on in here kind of hurt my brain. I started out with the employee assets, and this is my demo kit. Excuse me. And the structure, and it's called a schema, the structure of hardware helped me because I'm familiar with this. I have a catalog of hardware that includes laptops, and laptops includes Windows laptops. And I have this Apple laptop and a certain MacBook. So for me, starting with the physical hardware assets was very helpful just because I understand that idea and what those things are. We've got Compass. Oh, wow. Bitbucket is completely blank in this instance. And again, Bitbucket is where the code lives. So this is where my developers would be. I have to sign up from the dead stop. Okay, we won't do that then. I would tie Bitbucket into Compass so Compass can keep an eye on Bitbucket. That is almost all the content I have, folks. So unless y'all have questions, I do have a Udemy course entirely on Confluence. So just a little self-promotion here. This is a discount code that'll hook you up with a nice discount on it if you're curious or interested. You can also, of course, share this. But it's 4 hours on what I wish I had known when I started using Confluence. So everything from what is a page to how to be a space admin to how does Atlassian Intelligence work. Definitely worth checking out if you're learning Confluence or need to figure it out or have teammates who need to figure it out. And I do have a whack of other Udemy courses on things like JQL, also things on soft skills, HR data analytics, etc. Next steps, we are going to continue our product discussion next week, next Friday the 13th. But please study on your own. Go in and tinker with this. Get hands-on, go explore Compass if you use it, go talk to people who use Status Page, engage with assets if they frustrate and confuse you. Join us in Discord for more support, but please keep engaging with this stuff. For me, the more I engage with it and think about it, the more likely it is I'll understand it, and one day eventually it clicks and it just makes sense. But that won't happen if we don't engage. So this time together is very useful, but it's really on each of you and me to keep learning this and to get hands-on. Also talk to other folks. If there are people in your organization who use these products, or if you want to get to know someone who uses them, go chat with them. I've met some great friends this way, and even friends after I leave the company. Because we started, actually I broke our data center. I deleted a bunch of issues that caused a huge headache for our admin. But out of that, I got a great friendship with this guy. I don't recommend breaking things. It's not a good way to go. But if you happen to do that, raise your hand, say, I'm sorry, show me how not to do it. You'll learn and maybe make a great friend. Shoot me an email, though, robert@heen.tech. Some of you have done this. I'll be happy to respond. Please don't share anything sensitive or that would require an NDA. But if you have general questions, let me know. Please reach out for help. I am available. That community in Discord is available, and there are other people out there who can help you. So I want to thank you all for joining me. I have a lot of fun with these. This one particularly was good for me to think through all these products and to think through cloud stuff. Because again, I've never been the org admin. I'm just a guy. So it's been good to learn all of it and to hear all of y'all's experience in it as well. I'll keep the chat and things open for a little bit. I'll be going through and just double checking things. I really need some outro music or something like that. But a quick reminder, if you want to help sponsor the channel, you can be a coffee or a beer sponsor if you want. And I think one of the perks is if we ever meet each other, I'll buy you a coffee and say hi. So definitely worth checking out. Otherwise, thank you all so much. Again, I really enjoy these. You're welcome, Chad. I appreciate it. Sarah, you're also welcome. But until next time, hope you have a great week. I'll see you the 13th, if not sooner. I'll be a little bit quiet next week. I've got a summer camp I'm instructing, so I won't be on Tuesday to Thursday, but I'll be there Monday and Friday. So thank you all. I'll keep the chat open for a bit while I review things and make sure I didn't miss any questions. And I'll see you all soon. You're welcome, Kari. Always good to see you. Diana, I missed that you also had a corgi. I'm jealous. You're very welcome. You're welcome, Justin. Glad I could get your day off to a good start, Scott. Thank you for joining. All right, folks. Well, you all have a great week, and I will see y'all again very soon.